Hi, in this video I'm going to show you how to replace a number plate bulb on a Mercedes Benz W209, which is the CLK class car. But what you'll find is the process will be exactly the same if you have a W203, which is the Mercedes Benz C class. So let's start by jumping into the car and having a look to see what the instrument panel is telling us. Turn the ignition 2 clicks and you'll see the dash light up. And then just turn your lights on to side lights, not auto, because if it's bright outside then your lights might not come on. So that one there, so that's like a manual side lights turned on. And you get this warning message that either the left hand license plate lamp or maybe the right hand license plate lamp is out. So let's jump out and have a look and see what the situation is. Now at the back of the car, let's double check and see if the number plate bulb's out. And yeah, okay, we can clearly see that the left hand side bulb's out and the one on the other side is okay. So let's go ahead and lift the tailgate now, because that'll give us better access to these number plate bulbs. So all we need to get access to this is a cross point screwdriver, and you can see there's just a screw at either side. And what you can do with this second screw when you're removing it is just tilt it slightly, and that'll make it tighten the hole, which will allow you to pull the lens out. Like that. And as you can see, the bulb's really discolored, so it's clearly blown, but we can do a double check as well on that. Well, you can actually just swap a known good bulb into this holder, and if it works, then of course that confirms it was the bulb. The other thing you can do is bench test this bulb using a multimeter. And it doesn't have to be as fancy a multimeter as this. Any basic multimeter will have a continuity function, which is this one here. So you just turn it to that, and you can just check that your meter's working, because if the leads detect a circuit, which is basically when these touch, then you should hear a beep. Okay, so we're good to go. And so if the element that runs through this bulb is okay, it means that we'll have a connection from one end cap to the other. And so a beep would mean a good bulb. And you can see we've got nothing. Now what I've got here is my replacement bulb, and to be honest, it's not brand new, this one, it's just one I had in stock. But it does still work. There we go, so that's telling me that this bulb's good. And so the bulb in question is a C5W, also known as a festoon bulb. And this is a 12 volt DC 5 watt halogen bulb. Of course, if you'd prefer to replace the standard halogen bulb with an LED, you can do that, but just make sure it's an equivalent wattage. So of course this is 5 watt, and also it's known as a CANBUS, and that will mean that it talks to the warning system that's in the Mercedes. Otherwise you'll get sporadic errors coming up on the screen. I'll put some links to standard bulbs and to LED ones that should work with the Mercedes in the description below. If you found that the bulb was perfectly fine but it still wasn't lighting up, and if you swapped the bulb from the other side and it still didn't light up, then it means you've got a problem in this area. And you can see that these connections are really clean, but that's not always the case. Sometimes they can get a little bit of corrosion on them. And if these do have corrosion on them, then the best thing you can do is get some sandpaper and then just lightly sand those contacts at the bottom there and then at the top, because this clip is what makes the connection to the bulb. So clean it up top and bottom at one side and then do the same at the other. And then you can just finish off by squirting a little bit of electrical spray in there, or just squirting the spray onto a cloth, so that then you can then wipe the contacts in there and get it nice and clean. It's also worth making sure that those are gripping the bulb tightly. So sometimes those get sprained a little bit wide and the bulb's a little bit loose. So what you can do is literally just reach in there with your fingers and then just pinch them a little bit tighter. You know, don't go too crazy, but make it a nice snug fit for the bulb. And what I recommend is you just clean up these edges here, because that's where the lens fits. And it's the fit that prevents water getting into this bulb and causing you problems. So what I've got is just some window cleaner, which is a light detergent. I'm just going to clean that up, and I'm just going to clean the edges of the rubber seal as well, again just with some window cleaner. So you probably noticed this lens is pretty dirty, and it's pretty easy to clean these up. All you need is an old toothbrush and just regular old hand soap, you know, a little drop of hand soap, and then just give it a scrub. and the brush won't damage the seal around the edges. Okay, well it's not perfect, but it's a lot better than it was. But when you're refitting the number plate bulb, you actually insert it into the cover and you use it to snap it into place. But as this is a halogen bulb, it's really important that there's no fingerprints on the outside of the glass because they can cause it to fail early. So what I've got is just some tissue paper, and I'm going to make sure this bulb's nice and clean. And then trying my best not to touch the glass, I'm just going to pop it into the lens cover like that. Now the final thing to say about this is the lens cover is actually very square at one side and very rounded at the other, so it'll actually only go in one position. And what you'll find, it's a lot easier if the square side you get into position first like that, and then that just allows you to snap it in. And now it's a good idea to go and test the bulb. Now all we have to do is put these securing screws back in place. Just be careful not to over tighten these though, because you can crack the lens. Remember, it only needs to hold the lens cover in place and to compress the seal around the outside edges just a little bit. Okay, so I hope the video helped you change the number plate bulb on your Mercedes-Benz car, or if it wasn't a simple bulb swap, hopefully some of the tips I gave you helped you diagnose the problem. If it did and you liked the video, then please give me a thumbs up. And if you'd like to see more of my content, especially on this car where I've serviced the transmission and changed the brakes and all sorts, then please consider subscribing and clicking the bell, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.